Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's me again, Jen. Hello. And it is the 30th of September. It is the last day of the month. It is a Wednesday, so it's the middle of the week. And so, middle of the week, end of the month, we do what we do. We are drawing our final card. Sad, bittersweet that it is. Drawing our final card from the Goddess Tarot, which is a tarot deck written and illustrated by Chris Wilder. This deck is near and dear to me. I've had it in my collection for quite some time, and it usually is only used during my red tent nights where we kind of pick a card as a bit of an oracle card, and I don't usually read with them. Part of the reason why is because they are such a large deck. They are bigger than the standard, and I have rather small hands. So, that being said, it was a lot of fun to kind of dip into these cards and pick at them for their symbols and unique qualities, and of course the goddesses that are involved in them. So, without further ado, let's pick our final card for the month of September and with the Goddess Tarot. Okay, that's a lovely one to end with, I think. I think it's great. All right, it is fertility. And it is card number 3 in the major arcana. So we know it not typically as fertility. We know it as the Empress. The Empress and fertility is depicted by, and I'm going to slowly pronounce this, Estsanatlehi. I'm going to hope I pronounced that right. If I totally butchered it, I deeply apologize. She is a Native American corn goddess who obviously represents fertility and also the passage of kind of rites of life sort of thing. So, marriages, births, crossing into adolescence, any of these kind of passages and pathways that we experience in life, she's sort of the overseer to these things. And as I understand it, it's not just women's rituals. Please correct me if I am wrong on that. But as I understand it, it is the rituals for all people. So male, female, all of the above, they look to her during their rites of passage, during their crossing into the next phase of their life. As I mentioned, she is a corn goddess because the corn, of course, is super, super important to a lot of the North American and Central American native cultures. I think to some of the South American as well, but primarily that. We know that like the corn gods and things like that were very important to Central America as well as the southern parts of North America. So I think she is absolutely stunning in her white dress here and kind of showing the blooming of the desert, which clearly you've got to be one heck of a fertility goddess to bring bloom to the desert. So I just think that that's a great embodiment of that fertility energy and that Empress energy, which we know in the standard, more traditional tarot deck, the Empress is that she's usually depicted as being pregnant. She's lounging. There's a stream usually flowing near her. Flowers are blooming. All of these things are happening because again, she's the embodiment of fertility and that kind of aspect. So I think I mentioned before when we read Love, which is also the Lovers, that they chose Venus for that one. And I I had debated because even the imagery depicted in the Venus picture that they used was very much that Empress energy. And yet, we have this goddess, whose name I'm not going to pronounce again. I did the best I could once. That's all I'm going to do. She is clearly embracing that fertility where everywhere she steps, growth and energy and rebirth is happening. So I look at this card and go, not only does she embrace that energy of fertility with the flowering things, but also in the desert, which we know you're hard pressed to get anything to grow in the desert. The other thing that's interesting about desert life and rebirth is that rebirth sort of almost happens in reverse of our normal thinking of seasons. So as summer comes and we typically are like seeing things bloom and grow and reach fruition, it's sort of the opposite in the desert. In the desert, things die out during the summer and come back in the fall and kind of reach their fruition in wintertime and are harvested sort of in the spring. That's not entirely like the tried and true, but for a lot of things it is. So I think this is a really interesting depiction of fertility because it allows us to look at it in a completely different way. And that is really why I love that this is the card that came up at the end of September, at kind of this midpoint leaning into fall, as things really are starting to kind of bloom out there. And I'm thinking, oh, I really got to start the yard work and I really got to start the gardening, because this is when the world of the desert sort of comes to life, is in these cooler months when things can survive in order to thrive throughout the winter and be harvested in the summer. So I think that that's really interesting. And I also think it's super great that this is the card we got to finish off September, sort of telling us all, hey, there is growth about to happen. Even though so many things are dying away and falling away, there is growth. And there is always the potential for growth, even when it seems dormant. Be that in the wintertime, in the colder climates, or in the summertime here in the hotter climates, there is always potential for growth. So one of the things that the Empress usually represents is new growth and new ideas and new experiences. So I hope as we go into the next month, we see those new experiences and new growths and new ideas coming to fruition. And I hope that the idea of fertility really is on your minds as we go into these months and kind of say, you know what, big changes are coming, but they're wonderful and they will bring, they may not seem like it at first, because if you look at the desert, it is very prickly. You look at all the cactus back here, it's very prickly. But these flowers bring the new life, and they're in there within that prickly world of the desert, that scorching world of the desert. It may seem like it's awful, but good things and amazing things are coming. So I think it's an excellent card to end on. I love the corn stalks in the back here that are also kind of blooming. And she's just open armed, ready to accept whatever great, wonderful, strange things may be coming as we close out a very strange year. But I also think this was a great way to close out the Goddess Tarot with a goddess who really, for me, where I live, is super close to home, but also kind of in that close to home feeling of this is the time period we're in right now. This is her world, which is that fertile time of the fall in the desert. So I'm super excited that that's the card we finished off with. I know there are some that we missed in the major arcana that were really cool goddesses. I invite you to please leave a comment below if there's any goddesses that you're like, hey, was she in there? Was she depicted? And if not, maybe we can talk about why. I'm totally open to that. And also, if you have an interest in the Goddess Tarot, I honestly have no idea where to find it. I got this deck years and years ago, so I have no idea. But it is, again, the Goddess Tarot by Chris Walder, Waldherr. And I absolutely love it. And I recommend it to every single person who reads tarot, especially women, because I think that having this very feminine, strong deck in your possession is great for when you're trying to really connect to yourself, as well as like any female clients or clients who really are in touch with feminine energy. So check this deck out. I'm excited about the deck that I have for next month. I just can hardly contain it, so I may or may not like reveal today, but we'll see. Until tomorrow and until next month, right? I will see you soon, and stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the fall. Bye!